Howdy, howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 239.
Yeehaw!
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy, howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking few weeks and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Related, yes.
We are back.
Back behind the mic.
Behind the mic,
back behind the mic.
Indeedy, yes. Yes, hope you've all had a good few weeks and that you've had a nice break from our whining tones, our voices that go into your ears, usually every Friday. And that you've managed to do. There's been, when I was looking for some news to put into this week's show, I thought, right, we haven't been recording for a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whatever. So there must be tons of news.
Yeah,
but no, there's literally no. Well, there's a couple of little bits, and we've got one interesting news article or news thingy to talk about this week, and we've got a couple of merch bits. But overall, it's extremely quiet still.
I know. I thought the same thing. I thought, we've been away for a few weeks. It's going to be like a 5-hour show. All the stuff we got to catch up on, and yeah, nothing.
Nothing at all.
Well, I've got plenty to talk about, but nothing much news. Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed with that. I had exactly the same train of thought. I thought I'd just jump on there. There must be tons. I'm going to have to throw stuff out because we're going to be running over otherwise. But no, it was just the tumbleweed zipping across the screen as I typed Doctor Who News. Basically, a giant meme should have just jumped out of the browser and informed me that there was nothing going on. But it's good to be back, mate, catching up with you and having a chat and catching up with our listeners. I hope you've all had enjoyed some of the Big Finish. That's one thing that has been trickling through consistently, which doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, which is good. So some good Big Finish stuff has come out in the last couple of weeks. And also, even though we haven't put out a podcast for a few weeks, we do still have some really cool articles that go out on our website every week. So our bunch of writers who are doing their thing, especially Jordan Shortman, he's pumped out a load of Big Finish reviews recently. So go and read those. And he's also started to review the old Virgin published stories from years ago.
Yeah.
So that's all good. So go and check out the site. There's still stuff happening over there, and we do still knock about on Twitter and stuff. So yeah, how have you been, buddy? Anything Doctor Who related for you? Actually, I know you went to one cool thing.
Yes, I did the LFCC, which was good. I enjoyed it this year, actually. On the whole, I think I got a bit stressy on the Saturday. I sent you a picture of the crowds, didn't I? Because it was a bit mad on the Saturday.
Oh, the Saturday, yeah.
So it was a weird one because I couldn't decide which days to do this year. I think I was literally changing every time we sort of signed in to do the podcast, we were chatting about it, and I kept saying, I think I'm just going to do the Sunday this year. The guests aren't grabbing me. I might do the Saturday because so-and-so's been added. And anyway, after all that deliberation, I ended up doing all 3 days, which is the first time I've done that, because I was going to just do the Saturday and Sunday in the end. I thought if I'm going to pay for that for an extra tenner, I could do the Friday. And that was the only day you could get Sylvester and Sophie dual shot, which I've been wanting for a long, long time. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. It was my birthday on the Friday as well. So I thought, right, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to do the whole 3 days and hope it doesn't, kill me. And it wasn't too bad, actually. The Friday was by far, I think, my favorite day. I really enjoyed the Friday. I got a cracking shot with Sylv and Sophie. Sylv was wearing the most awesome waistcoat. You would have loved it, mate. It was like, I think it's like the Pandorica flame, like the Vincent van Gogh flames of the TARDIS and swirling and all that. I can't really describe it, but do you know the one? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yep.
That sort of thing. It's a sort of waistcoat of that. It looked amazing. And yeah, it was just a really good day. I also met William Shatner that day. I say met, photo shoots. So it was pretty quick. He was pretty cool though. I was last in line. And so while I was waiting to pick up my photo from, the machine, I got to sort of see him chatting to the photographer and everything. And he seemed really cool because I've heard he can be a bit grouchy. But yeah, he seemed in good spirits. So that was good. The Saturday was mad though. I sent you that picture. Was very crowded and a bit stressy and all that sort of stuff. But wasn't helped. I had my Jenna Coleman photo shoot that day, and I don't know if you saw the stuff on Twitter, but it kind of all kicked off.
Kicked off, love it.
It's weird because I know Twitter can be a funny place, but it's the first time I've really experienced that sort of backlash of hate and abuse. Actually, it was quite intimidating. I'll be honest. I mean, we all, I've got into sort of discussions with people before that have got heated, but I've never sort of had just general vile stuff sent to me like that. And it was all because basically, I'm sure regular listeners know, I met Jenna a couple of years ago, didn't have a particularly nice experience with her. And so I've been saying all this time leading up to LFCC that, I was looking forward to getting a proper photo shoot with her, erasing that memory. Because I said to you, didn't I, hopefully by paying to have a proper photo, she'll be smiley and it'll be nice. And then I can just let go of all this anger that I've been carrying for a couple of years since, I met her. I don't think it could have gone any worse, actually. It's quite surprising, even looking back on it. She just basically she just looked like she didn't want to be there. So I'm waiting in the queue, and I can see that the interaction between her and the fans was zilch as I'm getting closer and closer to my thing. It seemed to be like there was a massive gap between her and everyone having their photos. She just had a face on her like a slapped whatnot. She just really just looked thing. Now, before I go on, I know a lot of people have said this happened to her that day. A fan tried to kiss her. She wasn't feeling well, blah, blah. I don't know what's true or what isn't true, but the amount of excuses that people were firing up after I tweeted that I hadn't had a very good experience meeting her was unbelievable. I mean, if even half the stuff people are claiming happened to her happened, then I think she would have been out of there. So I don't know. If stuff did happen that was unacceptable that people are claiming, then fair enough. That's not, inexcusable. But I can only tell you what I saw, and she just looked miserable. And she was doing this pointy thing. It was just, and she wasn't sort of like even responding to people. So I got my photo with her. It's always quick. I wasn't expecting a lot. She did the whole pointy thing. She just pointed at me. And as I walked away, I went, nice to meet you. And she just looked at me as if like, whatever. And literally, it was just that look of, she may as well have just rolled her eyes. It was just a look of, move on. And it was just a real unpleasant thing. So I don't know. I don't know if stuff happened in the day. I don't know. But that's twice I've met her now. That's twice I've found her to be quite frankly rude. So it was a shame because I was really hoping that this was going to be a good experience meeting her and then I could just move on from the whole Jenna thing. But unfortunately, it was bad. I tweeted about it thinking, I'll just get it out there. And yeah, man, all these Jenna accounts come after me. It was crazy. It was proper crazy.
All these Jenner accounts.
It was mad. I've honestly never experienced anything like it. I mean, I didn't say, you know, I didn't tag Jenna. I mean, Jenna's on Twitter. I didn't tag her in the tweet or anything. I just literally said, oh, you know, that was an unpleasant experience meeting Jenna today. You know, what a shame, or something like that. And, you know, it wasn't even a vicious, nasty tweet. I was just saying, you know, didn't have a good experience. But yeah, got a bit of a backlash on that. So I won't be meeting her again, mate. Oh, yeah, I'm afraid.
You were really looking forward to it as well. I remember speaking to you before, like a week or so before, and we were discussing who you were going to get photos with, and you kept mentioning Jenny. Like, I really want to meet Jenna, and it's going to be cool, and all that. So you probably had a bit of added pressure for her because you really wanted that to be a cool photo. In the same way that over the years you've really wanted a nice smiley pic with Tom.
Yeah,
and,
how long did that take? Yeah, I know.
So,
and Tom is lovely, by the way. It just sometimes he doesn't come out that well in photos. So yeah, but no, that was the thing. I think because, you know, when I met her before, it was just a chance encounter on the street, and I thought, you know, sometimes you catch people at the wrong time. So although, you know, I was annoyed about it for years, the way she just kind of shooed me away back then, I thought, well, you know, let's at a convention when you're paying money, I was expecting at least a good experience from it. I thought that would get rid of, you know, all this silly anger that I've held over the years that she was just sort of shooed me away. I think, no, you know, this will be good and I can, you know, but yeah, I'm afraid it just wasn't. So that was Jenna Gate. That was Jenna on the Saturday. Kind of took the edge off a bit, as you can imagine. But then moving on to the Sunday, had a really good day on the Sunday. Met Peter Purvis. He was fantastic. Oh, actually, I might have met him on the Saturday, actually. He's always really nice. And Gareth David Lloyd from Torchwood was there. I've never met him before. Again, really, really nice. And then me and Reese, a guy I was hanging around with, we were like, shall we get Julian Glover, you know, from City of Death? And I was like, he's here every year. And every year I think to myself, oh, I might get him this year. But then because he's always here, I think, oh, because of money, I'll probably get him next year, sort of thing. Because I've got a couple of autographs from him, but I really wanted a photo with him. Anyway, at the very last second, we decided to do it. We're like, come on, let's do it. Let's go get Julian. And my word, I'm so glad we did, because it was such a great way to end the event. It was such a positive meeting. He was so friendly and just fun. And again, in a photo shoot, you don't really get to chat or anything, but he was just warm. He was like this just gentle, you know, old man. I think, I don't know how old he is now, 70s, 80s, but yeah, like he was just very engaging with people and saying like, you know, oh, you're in your Star Wars costume, what have we got here then? And all this sort of thing. And yeah, so we both got a really nice picture of him, and it was just a great end to the weekend. So overall, it was really, really good. We were going to finish it with, there was a talk with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. Unfortunately, poor old Colin, he was there, but he'd got the lurgy, he'd got the flu, so his voice had gone. So Nicola did it on her own, and she was really, really good. We caught the last, I would say, 10, 15 minutes of her talk, which should have been with Colin, but she was really, really good. So yeah, so a very good weekend, mate. I wish you'd been there, obviously, but I also understand why you weren't, because there were times when I was just battling the crowds. I thought, this is why Gary don't come to these things. There were times when it was a bit typical, you know, mad crush and chaos, disorganized queues and stuff. There was a bit of that. So
yeah, it was the first year for me that I'd not been in. I think I've been for the last 5 years. I think 4 or 5 years, and this year I just thought, I've met most of the people that in terms of Doctor Who, I thought I've met most of the people there already, and I've had photos, like multiple autograph with people from Doctor Who and stuff. I just thought, do you know what? I'll give it a swerve this year and just take it all in from people's Twitter feeds and Instagram and stuff. I was excited when I heard some rumours that Hayden Christian was going to be there. Because I did think, you know, should I go there for like a Star Wars capacity and do some Star Warsy stuff? And but then the price for him was revealed shortly after, and I thought, I think I'll still just stay at home. I think it was like
145,
£140 or something like that. Don't get me wrong. I think, and that's another thing where people just went completely nuts on social, because there were people saying, I can't believe it. How dare he charge this much, all the rest of it. And then there was other people saying, well, look, he hardly ever does any conventions. And the thing is, you can't really bash showmasters for charging that amount, because a big star like that from Star Wars, he has to has a he has a certain guarantee fee for the event, so they have to get their money back from paying that out somewhere. And also, people were saying that look, he's not like these other stars where you just queue up, you're in front of him for 2 seconds and then you're gone and you're a distant memory. Apparently, he's quite interactive and does actually shake hands and say hello and is very welcome. A bit like Matt Smith is. He's very cool like that. And,
he's great. Yeah.
So I think. Yeah, that's a really big discussion. We talk about that for ages, but I think if you've got the money and you have the opportunity to meet somebody like him, then it's potentially worth it. But I do see the other side of the coin where the price. Every year we seem to have this same discussion. Like certain stars that are there, the price is creeping up and up and up. But the thing is, if you were the top of the tree at Showmasters and you were running Comic-Con as a business, then you've got your dollar signs wrapping around your head every day. You're like, who are we going to get next year? Who are we going to, because I had these other events as well, like these other smaller ones. And it's, it's just a business model now, isn't it? It's very, like the days are long gone of having these very small, intimate events with, like 100 people. It's a bit like the old, the Phantom events that we go to every now and then at Chiswick and stuff. Those days of like the Comic-Con events are long gone. I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching, I don't want to go on about Star Wars too much, but I was watching this old Star Wars documentary that I watch every now and then. It's awesome. It's called Empire of Dreams, and it's about the old making of the old original trilogy stuff. And one of the guys there they hired went to San Diego Comic-Con, and I think it was the second ever one in San Diego, and it was just like the little Phantom event in Chiswick. There was just a small hall with a little stage and a few booths around, people selling posters and some merch. And now it's just this crazy, and Showmasters are going the same way with LFCC. It's just this massive, crazy thing. So, I think, moving forward, the same advice that we've given to people over the years, and we'll have to continue, because we always get that every year in the run up to LFCC. It's like, what do you reckon who should we meet at LFCC, and what should we do, and should we go 3 days or just a weekend? And it's essentially, it all boils down to, like you said, mate, it's just money. If you've got the money, then all good. But I wouldn't advise going to Comic-Con without any money. Not these days.
No, you need the money. And as I said, actually, I think for me, it's nicer. So they did that one, didn't they, a few months ago, sort of like a scaled down version. And that was perfect, I think, in terms of the amount of people they let in, because that's the thing, the Friday and the Sunday in terms of crowds and the sort of guests they had and actually getting to look around were perfect. It's just the Saturday when they really sell it to the max. And like you said, it's not cheap. You do need your cash, but it's also not very pleasant, I think. When it's, as I said, the Saturday, it was kind of like, I just wanted to get through it. I was thinking, come on, let's just get to the end of the day, get my photos and get out of here. It's that, which is, so you're not really enjoying it because it's just so crowded and manic and chaos. But then, as I said, the Friday and Sunday when there's less people, they've sold less tickets. I did enjoy that. I actually enjoyed those days of looking around the stalls, getting to see there was a lot of artists there this year. I actually bought some really nice artwork. I don't normally buy that sort of thing from there because I don't normally get the time. I bought a couple of really nice bits of art so I bought one I had a great chat with, I'm going to say his name wrong, I know, but Chris Achilleos.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Kilios. He was there. I had a lovely chat with him. He's quite reserved and shy, but he was fun. He was quite good. And he was with a lady. He was at his stall. I don't know if it's his wife, partner, whatever. And so I bought this really nice, piece of art from him and got him to sign it. I said, can we get a pic together with it? And he was like, no, I don't really like the picture. She was like, yes, you are. Go on, get up, stand up. You're having a picture. You must have a picture with your fans. Come on, and all this sort of thing. And I had a really nice little chat with those guys. And I also met our old friend, Andrew Cartmel.
Oh,
he was he was so pleased.
Oh, right, cool.
Honestly, his face lit up because he had these, because last year I kind of went over and ended up spending quite a lot of money I didn't have, and anyway, blah, blah. So I saw him and I thought, I don't know if I'll go over because I always end up like buying all this stuff and all his books and things. And then he'd got these vinyl records because he's writing these books called The Vinyl Detective, and he'd actually got a vinyl of it. Now, I love vinyl, and I thought, what a great I really want one of those. I wonder how much they are. But I don't want to go over and ask him, because he'll be like, yeah, you want this, you want that, you want that. Because I love Andrew, but, he loves to sell everything. So I got my mate to go over and ask how much the vinyl was. And I think it was like 20 quid. I was like, oh, I'm having that. So I go over and, I said, hello, Andrew. I saw you tweet about your vinyl records. I'd like to buy one. And he was like, yes, they're brilliant. And we had such a good chat, and he was loving it. And he was signing it. He goes, I know the exact place to sign it. He goes, I've been looking at the vinyl record all day, finding the exact right place. And he signed it. And we got a load of pics together of him pulling all his funny faces. And he was brilliant. He had a really good little 5-minute chat with him. And he was giving me all these postcards. You want these postcards? Come on, you can have those. You can have those for buying that record. And so that was good. Great to see him again.
That's like a mirror experience to what you had last year.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, I mean, Andrew's always great, but last year he did kind of he was a bit like he had his salesman out, and he's a bit Del Boy last. She's like, come on, you want this, you want that book, you want that book, and I was like, oh, I've only got 30 quid, I don't know. But it was a great to see him again and get his vinyl, which is excellent, by the way. It's all jazz stuff and it's brilliant actually. So that was really cool. So yeah, it was a good weekend. It would have been great if you'd have been there. I know the bit that would have made you laugh. There was you saying about sort of all the guests and overselling it. So they had they had the photo studios, but they seem to have more photo studios this time. Mm-hmm. So they'd opened up, they have those weird little rooms in the it's not the XL, is it? Olympia. Mm-hmm. They have these sort of weird rooms, don't they, that are all wood when you walk into them. So away from the main halls, there's these little rooms. They sometimes have talks in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so all the panels are wood as you go inside. Well, they'd turned a couple of them into photo studios. But when we walked in, so for example, my Peter Purvis photo shoot, we walk into this little room, which looks like a little office that they've put a photo shoot up. And me and Reese were like looking at the sort of back cloth. So normally it's like that blue standard for Showmasters. You have the blue standard black cloth, right? So Peter Purvis is stood in what me and Reese could only describe as an old bed sheet that was it was sort of grey and all crinkled, and it just looked like they were like, right, we need to open up another photo studio now. Grab that bed sheet, get those chairs, and we were just stood there going, oh, that looks awful.
Professional then.
It really did. And I just imagined me and you. I thought we'd be killing ourselves with this. But when the photo came out, it doesn't look too bad actually. But it's not. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange. It looked a bit makeshift. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. You're talking about opening up extra rooms and stuff for the photo shoot. This brings me on to a point that I'd forgotten about actually. You just jogged my memory about the venue, the Olympia, for LFCC, and I don't want to end on a downer with this, but.
Oh no!
Yeah, so on the Facebook group for LFCC or Showmasters, whatever, in the run up to LFCC, I think it was a week or two before, somebody who works at Showmasters had started putting out these posts to say, "Not long to go now, getting excited. Make sure you know your way around Olympia. There's a map and all the rest of it. Go and have a look." And everyone started. Well, a large portion of people started saying, "Have you thought about moving venues?" Mm. And I jumped on that straight away because it's something that we've spoken about over the last couple of years. It's like when we have the smaller events, like the event you mentioned, the spring one earlier on, I think it was March, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Then that's not too bad. But when you have the main LFCC, especially on the Saturday, it's really bad. And I put a comment on saying, yeah, last year when we had the large number of doctors there, and then last minute David Tennant was announced, it felt like the place was completely flooded, and especially upstairs where they had the photo booths there. I said there were so many people up there that if there was a fire hazard or something was to happen, I said I can't comfortably say that I would have got out of the building quick at all. I said, because the thousands of people that were upstairs on those balconies and those very small or smallish stairwells to get out of, and there's only two, well, there's one on either side. Yeah. I said, if anything was to kick off, I said, I'm not happy. I wouldn't have been, I comfortably got out of there. And anyway, a load of people had commented on that as well. And then suspiciously, about an hour later, my comment was deleted.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought, okay, so they probably want to stray away from like the legal health and safety side of things with that venue, because we have seen it, mate, over the last couple of years, especially on the Saturday. They do say last year it sold out, but I'm pretty sure that that wasn't sellout capacity. That was far more than sellout, because it was ridiculous. So
it was rammed,
yeah. So don't get wrong, love the Showmasters events, and while they don't run like clockwork all the time, they're generally okay. But if they can just get a decent venue sorted out, because surely they're making enough money now to have a little bit of clout to say, look, I know the MCM have the XL, but come on, we need somewhere bigger. We can bring in the crowds and all the money and stuff. Let's sort it out. Let's sort out somewhere new. Because the Olympia, it's a nice old building. It's lovely. But when you get to a certain capacity, it is like, yeah, not happy about this, dude.
And it's starting to show its age as well, because a lot of the air vent was dripping on me as well. So I was in the queue. I thought, is it raining? And I was looking up thinking, this is, stuff dripping on me. And the stairs you mentioned, this is no exaggeration. When we were walking down the stairs, I couldn't help but notice that they were so rickety. I made a joke. I was like, these feel like they're going to fall apart. Like it needs a bit of love, that building, because it's an old building. So I do agree. And also because it's mostly 95% volunteers or whatever, I don't feel confident that if anything was to kick off in there, like a fire or an evacuation or whatever, I don't feel confident. You can just imagine it'll be a free-for-all. It'll be I don't think it would be that organised. So I totally get what you're saying.
It was just, I just kind of had that narrowing of eyes, suspiciousness, like when I went on to check some more comments. It was deleted, so I thought, okay, so they obviously know that it's a problem. They just don't want people making a song and dance about it, because there might be legal ramifications about health and safety and stuff. So I just left it. I didn't put another comment on or anything, but
it does worry me, actually. We're becoming very, don't want to get too political here, but it does worry me how much this country is becoming shut down in terms of censorship and deletions and, comments and actually speaking your mind. And we are becoming very controlled over here. I've noticed this. I don't want to go off on one, but it's something I have noticed a lot recently, is how much, like you said, things are deleted, or if you put a view out there, like the Jenner thing where you just absolutely rip to shreds, and I was forced to delete it because it was easier than trying to. So I've now privatized my account, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Like, it's becoming very difficult just to have an opinion. I'm not talking about having a go. I'm not talking about arguments. I'm just talking about putting an opinion out. It's becoming very difficult. So like, I think you've got a very valid point about the safety risk, but clearly you've been shut down.
Well, there was some news, I think a year ago, that London Council or somebody, a private firm maybe, they were going to invest something like, I don't know, £3 million into the Olympia area. That includes the Olympia building and stuff, and refurbing it all, but nothing's come of that yet, so I don't know what's happening there. But they just need
some aircon, that's for sure.
Some decent aircon and just a building that can just cope with a huge influx of people around everything else that's going on. Because where you've got the photo booths and the stalls and everything, it's all good, but when you get a certain amount of people in there, it's just not enjoyable. That's the problem.
I know, mate.
Yeah. Anyways, we don't just bring you Doctor Who, we bring you the big issues.
The big issues,
Yeah, we don't shy away from the important stuff, obviously. Have you been up to anything else Doctor Who related?
No, I got my BFI ticket for Mind Warp in September, which I'm really looking forward to. I love those events because, like you said, they're great to see Doctor on the big screen, and they're always a good meetup. And the only other thing I've done, and I'll just quickly throw this in there, is that I know I've already told you, but I'll tell the listeners, I did manage to get hold of my copy of the Big Finish Wave of Destruction vinyl that went on sale in Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's exclusive, limited to, not very many, can't remember. And it was just, I was saying to you earlier, it was just amazing because it was my day off when it was released. I know it was released on a Friday. One of the reasons we've not been able to do the podcast is because I've had to move out of my house for various reasons. So I'm currently staying in the Travelodge, although I'm back home today, hence we can record. But I'll be back in the Travelodge tomorrow for another 2 weeks. But there's a Sainsbury's opposite my Travelodge. And so I got up on the Friday thinking, it's my day off. I might just have an extra 10 minutes in bed. I thought, no, I better get up. Come on, get up. Go and see if they've got that vinyl. So I walk over to the Sainsbury's and turn the corner, and in front of me, I see a guy with a Doctor Who bag and thought, I know where he's going. He's going in to get that vinyl. Let's hope they've got a couple in stock. Anyway, As we go through the door, he stops to put out a ciggy. So I end up overtaking him. And when I get to the shelf, they have got the vinyl, but they've only got one. And I was like, oh, well, I've got to get it. So I grabbed it. It's I think it's like a translucent bluey white color. It's really nice as well. So I go to the till and I see the poor chap go up to the shelf and look and think, oh, they haven't got it. I thought, oh, no, he hasn't got one. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And then as I'm going out, the blimmin' alarm went off. So I have to go back in. And as I walk back in, he sees me carrying it. And his face was just like, you bleep. I was like, oh, no, I feel really bad. Anyway, so I got the vinyl. It's all good. But it just made me think about timings. And I was saying to you, it reminds me a little bit of Donna in Turn Left, because if I had stayed in bed even an extra 10 seconds, or if he hadn't have just stopped to put that ciggy out, he'd have got it, and it would have been me watching him go past, and it would have been me going, oh, you bleep. So I was very chuffed. I feel bad for him, although they got another copy in like 4 days later, but I felt bad for him, but I was very pleased to have got that. It's a really nice vinyl, actually. Are you collecting any of the Big Finish vinyls?
No, I've not picked any of them.
Nice.
No, because it's a slippery
really
slope, mate. I know that when I start, that'll be it. Then I have to get all of them. Yeah.
Oh, it is a very slippery slope, especially if you're a hoarder, collector, whatever, like me. Yeah, it is. It's you just get obsessed because you want to get every single one, and they are starting to release a few now. So be sensible, mate. Don't go down that road like me. Don't become a vinyl junkie like me.
Be sensible. Don't be like Adam.
That's it.
So anyway, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, just to let the listeners know, I don't know that guy that I overtook, but without going into the long story, I do know that he's actually managed to get a copy of it now. So don't feel too bad for him. He got one as well. It's all good.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
I know you can pick one up, mate. There you go.
There you go.
So in stark contrast to your busy couple of weeks, it seems, with Doctor Who stuff, I've done hardly anything, as usual these days, Doctor Who. I've not even listened to The Legacy of Time from Big Finishers yet. I've got that.
Oh, don't. That's a sore point. Well, because mine was dispatched 2 weeks before I had to move out of my house. So I'm thinking, well, it's got to be there when I get home. I knew I was coming back for a couple of days. I thought it'll be there waiting for me, the physical thing. No blimmin' sign of it. So I've had to email Big Finish saying, where is it? So, but I haven't. I was going to listen to it while I was away as well, but it's a massive file. Mm-hmm. It's a huge file to download. So I haven't been able to listen to it yet.
Yeah. I've just not. While we've taken a break from recording, I've just kind of dived into sort of other stuff, like my own sort of personal portfolio of design work and all that jazz, and getting my own things sorted out. So I've taken the time to kind of step away because there's so little happening with Doctor Who as well. I've taken the time just to step back from Who for a bit. I've still watched Sarah Jane and stuff for the review. I loved watching that and stuff. But just not like the complete opposite to what you've been up to. So
But we did, I was going to say, just to let the listeners know as well, we did think, so I knew I was going to have to move out. And as I said, I'm going to have to move out again tomorrow. So I will be away again for a couple of weeks. But we had planned to record. So I took all my stuff with me to the hotel. So I had my laptop, my microphone, all the leads. I was good to go. I just want to let the listeners know the reason we couldn't, I mean, there's been lots of reasons, but unfortunately, the travel lodge I'm in, they only give you half an hour free Wi-Fi a day. And you can pay for more. But it's terrible. Like, it takes about 3 minutes for a page to load. So trying to record, A, I'm not prepared to pay for it, and B, even if I was, the signal would be terrible. It would be a nightmare trying to record over it. So that's one of the many reasons we've sort of been on a bit of a, I'm not going to say hiatus, because I don't want to use that word on a Doctor Who podcast, but it's one of the reasons we're not. But I had all my stuff with me. I took all the DVDs to watch, so we could, so we could review them and everything. But it just hasn't worked out. So but I will be back, as I said, like days like this, so we will get a chance to record. But it's going to be a couple next few weeks going to be a little bit bumpy, but we should get back on track around about September. I think we should be able to record beginning of September, and then from middle of September we should, all being well, be back to our normal weekly show. So just to sort of give you a bit of an update on that sort of thing. That's how we're looking at the minute. But yeah, we're trying. I mean, like today, it's a bit mad with everything going on. But whenever we get a chance, we will try and get a podcast recorded for you guys, because we love checking in with you guys, don't we?
We miss you.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I've really missed doing it. I mean, So yeah, any chance we get, we will. Believe me, we're not just sat with our feet up or on some Hawaiian island somewhere with a pina colada going, I suppose we better do a podcast at some point. But no, any chance we get, we will do one. But next couple of weeks could be a little bit rocky. But stick with us, because we will be back to our usual selves.
Indeedy.
Pretty soon. Yeah.
And thank you to those that have tweeted and got in touch to say that you missed the show and stuff. That's very nice to hear. Just like Adam said, I think now's not a bad time to be going through some life ups and downs and stuff at the minute anyway, just because, like we said earlier, it's so quiet. We're not really missing out on anything. If there was massive news that dropped, we'd jump on and do a show of some sort anyway, even if it was a short one. But it's just a nice time at the minute in Doctor Who, just to enjoy the foot not full on the gas, if that makes sense, that we're used to. So, but yes, give it a few weeks and we'll be back rocking and rolling. For sure. Yes. Right, enough of our waffle on what we've been up to.
Yeah.
Shall we land it? Do a bit of news.
Come on then.
So we have no proper news, like the BBC have confirmed that this thing is happening. What we do have is a rather laughable thing that happened the other day. So this is really funny that this happens. It seems to only happen with predominantly with Doctor Who fandom these days, where I don't know what it is, but there seems to be like a bunch of Who fans that hear something, whether it's a whisper somewhere, or they've read a tweet or a forum post or something, and then they take it upon themselves to then decide that, yes, this is official. Like, this is actually a thing. So there was this stuff that floated around on social media. When was it? A couple of days ago now. And it was that the BBC were making a big announcement at 2:30 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. I think it was last week, the end of last week, Thursday, I think it was. And I jumped onto Twitter immediately and started to stir the pot a little bit by putting a tweet out to say, get the anticlimactic fireworks ready at 2:30. It's these announcements, even if it's genuine, these announcements typically are a bit lame these days. Do you remember a couple of years ago when the BBC strangely did this midnight announcement for something? And everybody was hyped up for it. Do you remember at the big midnight?
Yeah. What was it? Thing? God, it was something really rubbish.
Yeah, I can't even remember now exactly what it was.
We were all like, that can't be it. And it was.
Yeah, I can't even. Somebody did tweet me and say, actually, it was.
I can't remember.
It was this that they were announcing. Anyways, yeah. So the BBC, I mean, bless them, they kind of build up the hype and they get the hype train going. And then when it comes to the actual announcement, it's a little bit like, you know, when there's those funny scenes in films where there's like a brass band playing and then somebody trips over or something and the band just sort of winds down like, yeah. It's like, it's normally that kind of affair, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it all turns out that the reason that it wasn't even an announcement like there's going to be a new monster, or they're bringing back a monster, or the TARDIS has been redesigned, or Jodie's got a new Sonic. It wasn't anything at all. Essentially, the world took it upon themselves to decide that after a rumour that they heard that Chris Chibnall was no longer happy working on Doctor Who and had stormed off and quit, that then Jodie had decided that she was going to quit out of sympathy for Chibbers, and that was it. Doctor Who's no more, all the rest of it, blah, blah. And the announcement actually ended up being an article that the Radio Times put out saying that these rumours are actually nonsense. And inside sources have told us that this is all total nonsense. This has originated and spread through the online rumour mill. So that was the announcement. So in a kind of sense of, in a sort of cruel irony, the Who fans that were very excited about the announcement came about a rumour, and then the announcement wasn't even from the BBC. It was a Radio Times article debunking the announcement, and that was it. So I just found it hilarious. Yeah.
It was a fun 24 hours on Twitter. It really was, actually. And it's weird because I think a lot of people still think that the Radio Times is affiliated with the BBC, but they're not. They're nothing to do with the BBC anymore. So it's not an official BBC announcement or anything. But it was pretty crazy. And I'll admit, when it first started floating around, because I'm not one for rumours at all, but when it first started floating around, a part of me kind of believed it to begin with, because I've heard from various friends who know people who work at the BBC. So, I've heard rumblings for a while now that, there's trouble behind the scenes and chibbers and all that. But, you take it with a pinch of salt. It's just, I'm sure any production has its ups and downs. But I couldn't imagine him storming off. And I certainly couldn't imagine Jodie doing the same, right? I'm off as well then, I just couldn't see that. And I certainly couldn't see the BBC putting out an announcement confirming it, because even if that had happened, that would be a private thing. That's not production news or something, that's a private thing between them and the BBC. So whatever the announcement was going to be, I couldn't see it being confirmed. But I'll admit, for a while, I thought, maybe it has all, I've heard all this stuff and maybe some of it's true. No smoke without fire, blah, blah. Maybe he has just, exploded and stormed off. But no, total nonsense, apparently.
Apparently so, according to sources that they won't actually identify. Apparently those sources have said it's all nonsense and everything's fine. So, it was hilarious. I saw a few tweets and there was somebody saying, my friend lives in Cardiff and he went, you know where I'm going with this. My friend lives in Cardiff and he told me that he was there at some of the locations where they were filming because he's a fan, blah, blah, blah. And he said that he overheard and saw Chris Chibnall throwing his script to the ground, shouting at the top of his voice, I can't do this anymore. And Jodie saying, calm down, we can't be doing this now. And then the pair of them stormed off. So I said, okay, what's anything else your friend's got to say about it? No. So how do you know how do you know this person? Oh, I spoke to them once on Twitter, like 2013. So I was a reliable source then. So it was all like that, it's just complete Chinese whispers. But
and I think normally it wouldn't get, because I got quite embroiled in this, and I think normally I wouldn't as much, it was just, it kind of all kicked off. But I think it's because things are so quiet. This sort of threw a little bit of excitement out there. It's like, it's a little bit of gossip. It threw a bone out to us, even though it turned out to be a load of nonsense. And I think a lot of us knew deep down it was. But I think it is. It's just because there isn't much else out there. We all latched onto this. It's almost like a little mini drama. But Twitter's mad for that sort of thing. I'm really starting to see Twitter in a different light, I tell you. I used to love Twitter. I kind of still do, actually. But it's a universe of its own, isn't it? Especially with things like this.
It's crazy, mate. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, we'll say the same thing that we've said year in, year out since we've been on Twitter and stuff. It's just don't be a dick. Yeah. That's all you have to do. If you don't agree with somebody, then that's absolutely fine. Just don't be a dick about it. Just don't be abusive and derogatory and all that stuff. Just be cool and have a conversation, have a chat. It's like, oh, you don't agree with it? Oh, why is that? Oh, okay, I see your point. Oh, well, and then just be cool. We're all Who fans. We're all loving the same thing. We're all here to enjoy the same thing. It's just, oh dear. But I just found it very, very funny. And everyone, well, not everybody. That's an over-exaggeration. A few people tweeted me and said, don't be down. Don't be, negative about this. It's going to be a cool thing. We haven't had anything. I said, I've just got a feeling, based on experience, that these BBC announcements are typically something like, this writer's going to be writing for season 19 in 2024. So, look out for that.
Or we're having a colouring competition and the winner will go on a T-shirt. I was like, it's not normally anything groundbreaking.
No. But there we are. So apparently the Chibbers and Jodie are completely happy. That's what inside sources at the Radio Times have said about them, and the rumours that they're not happy is just rumour, and there's nothing to it. So we will certainly see by the end of series 12 if the series hasn't been renewed, or there's an announcement that Chibbers has in fact had enough and is leaving, then we might revisit the story. But for now, all good.
Yeah, we'll keep in contact with Cardiff Sid in his shed, who's overwatching the whole filming. We'll keep in contact with him.
Yeah, and his cousins, boyfriends, gardeners, cats, look after a person who also was there
watching it all.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get their opinion as well. Yeah. So that's all we've got for news, and it's not really news, it's just a big kerfuffle over nothing, but there we go. But we have got a couple of bits of merch, so let's see what's going on there.
Merch corner, merch corner, merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet.
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
Try work in a shop now, it'd help.
How's old Dalek's out? You've been keeping him under control while I've been away.
I haven't seen him, mate.
Oh.
He's off on his travels.
What's he doing?
He has a summer holiday like everyone else.
Oh, where do Daleks go on holiday?
That's a good question. He hasn't got any interplanetary systems at the minute, so he can't go far. He can't just nip back to Skaro.
No.
Not that he could, but he can't go. He's not like K9. He can't just go and have a chill around a black hole for a little while. He's stuck. He's a bit like Pertwee's Doctor. He's kind of contained to Earth for a bit. So I don't know where he's gone. I don't know. The trouble is, as we all know, he's typically miserable 99% of the time.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine him just chilling on the beach, enjoying people's conversation. I imagine he's in a cave somewhere, enjoying the moss trickle down the wall.
Maybe he's gone to watch the Series 12 filming.
Maybe it's him that's starting the bloody rumours.
It's him, isn't it? It's just the sort of thing he would do.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's gone to Clom. Maybe he's gone to Planet Clom, if that's still around.
Yeah.
Is it Clom?
Clom, yeah.
Clom, yeah.
Or Poosh.
Oh, that's the one I was trying to think of. Poosh, yeah. Poosh. Yeah. I was thinking Tennant, yeah.
Yeah, either way, he'll have to have a couple of backhanders when he gets back. Yeah, sort him out.
Bring him into line.
Anyways, I love this first bit of merch. This is going to be pre-ordered pretty soon. It's not out until October, but if you're a fan of the Target stories, there is a collection of spin-off stories called the Target Story Book, which is out in October. It's going to be priced at $16.99, and each story expands upon certain aspects of the Doctor's era. And there's going to be 15 stories all in all. And there's some cracking authors on this. A couple of people you wouldn't expect. Good. Yeah. So Colin Baker, not the Colin 60. Baker. It's not the Colin Baker. Oh, it is the Colin Baker.
It is the Colin Baker, yeah.
Yeah, Colin Baker, the Doctor himself, has written a story along with Jenny Colgan. That name should ring a bell. Terence Dix, of course. There couldn't be a Target book collection without Terence Dix. We've also got Matthew Sweet, Mike Tucker, Matthew Waterhouse has written a story. And a few other people thrown in there as well. And it just looks like a really, really cool, leave this on the coffee table, and every time you sit down for a cup of tea, you can go through a story or two. And it's like a really, the cover's amazing as well. It's got that awesome replication of the old Target style, the old, what's it called? There's like a certain style of print that they used to use back in the day, where limited colour palettes that used to use lots of little dots. I've forgotten the actual name for it, but
I don't know.
They've replicated that style with the limited colour palette. The actual stars on the front are in black and white. You've got Colin Baker himself, you've got Jodie, you've got David Tennant, Tom Baker, Capaldi, which is nice, and Matt Smith. So they're in black and white. You've got some colours and stuff. But the actual font and the typography and the look and feel is all the old. And they've got the old Target logo and stuff there. So I'm a sucker for the old Target stories, mate. I know you are.
I tell you, I'm really excited for this release. I think it sounds great. I agree. I love the cover. Someone pointed out the other day as well, and I amazingly didn't notice this at the time. They've somehow, well, this could be changed, but it looks like they've somehow been allowed to use the old Doctor Who logo as well, which I thought was forbidden. Maybe this is because Chris Chibnall stormed out and they thought, right, he's gone, quick, let's get that old logo back on. But yeah, it's got the old logo, mate. It's like I always think of it. Yeah. I think of it as the McGann logo, but I don't know if it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to be changed before release. I kind of hope not, because it really suits it.
I would hope not, because the whole point of it is to kind of pay homage to the old Target stuff, and you can't have the old Target style and look and feel with the new logo. It just wouldn't work.
I've got to admit, I don't think it would suit that. I think it'd look a bit lost on that cover.
Yeah.
That really looks good with the old logo. Yeah, great cover.
Yeah, I mean that's why one of the reasons when that new logo was announced ages ago, and you and I went through all of that hoo-ha about the new logo. One of the things that's very cool about the old one, the McGann one, is it's got quite a big, thick, chunky feel to it in terms of its typography and stuff. So you couldn't have. I think there would be quite a lot of uproar if they put the new logo on an old Target style. They might have the new logo like on the inside page, like as BBC, as a official BBC thing. But no, on the front it's got the old logo for now. Anyway, and just a little bit of blurb. It just says, each story expands on something from within each Doctor's era, and in the all-new stories, spinning off from some of your favourite Doctor Who moments across the history of their series, you learn what happened next, what went on before, and what occurred off-screen in an inventive selection of sequels, side trips, foreshadowings, and first-hand accounts. And also look forward in time with a brand new adventure for the 13th Doctor. So the Target storybook, sorry. Are you going to pick this up? I think you will. Yeah.
Ooh, absolutely, mate. Yeah, it sounds great. I'm really looking forward to it. October, did you say?
October the 24th, apparently. It's going to be $16.99. I imagine it'll be on Amazon and some other places, Waterstones and whatnot. But yeah, it looks good.
No, it looks good. Sounds great. Really looking forward to that. And Matthew Waterhouse is quite a good little author, actually. I've got a couple of his books. Put aside any thoughts you might have on Adric. He's a great little author. So, and Colin, be great to see what he comes up with. Yeah, definite pickup.
Indeedy. Yes, I'm just having a look to see if it's on Amazon. Oh, it's on Amazon already for pre-order. It's only $14.99 on Amazon at the moment.
All right, okay.
A couple of quid cheaper than the official pre-order price on BBC, and they've got it as October 24th as well. So, going to pre-order that later. Lovely.
Look forward to that. Right, moving on, another bit of merch. So, Real Time Pictures, who release these sort of DVDs. Would you call them a spin-off? Not really a spin-off, but they're not official BBC released, obviously. But they sort of mostly do interview DVDs, and I've got quite a few of these. They did all the Doctor ones recently. Still need to pick up Colin's, actually. Keep forgetting that. I've got all the Doctors by Colin, I think. And they're good. They're normally good. They're normally double DVD sets featuring interviews with stars from the show over the years that they've done themselves, so you won't find them anywhere else normally. They've got a new one coming out, which features 6 documentaries, which are in-depth interviews with Nabil Shaban, who played Syl, Christopher Ryan, who played Kid in Mind Warp, Stephen Thorne, who played Omega and Azal, and also was Eldred in The Hand of Fear, and Terry Malloy, of course, is Davros, plus Stuart Fell and John Davey, who have played numerous monsters over the years. So it's interviews with these guys, being interviewed by Robert Dick and Nicholas Briggs. This is another 2-disc set with 5 hours, it says, of pure nostalgia. They did a previous one called The Monsters. This is called The Doctors, The More Monsters. And I did really enjoy it, actually, even if they're sort of people that you think, I don't really know who they are. They tend to have a good insight into the behind the scenes, because obviously these are the guys that were often you wouldn't recognize on the street because they're under all their masks and, you know, various Daleks and Cybermen and Sea Devils. So you may not necessarily know them, but they often have some really good stuff to say about the show and what was going on behind the scenes. So I think this is another good little pickup. I'm quite enjoying this little range of DVDs that Real Time are doing. They're normally quite cheap as well. I know Amazon sell them for around $12.99, something like that normally. But to be fair, I've often find these in HMV for $9.99. You can normally get them from Galaxy 4 online for $9.99, free postage. So for a tenner for 2 discs, good value.
Good value indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always look at these releases and think, right, this is the one I'm going to jump in on. This is the one I'm going to do. But I think the one before this one, it was just called The Doctor's Monsters, I think. And now this Monsters. I think this would be a good couple to pick up and watch through. Yeah.
The ones I'd recommend for you, I would say get you'd like the Sylvester one because obviously you like the Seventh Doctor, but that's a good one. And the Tom Baker one is great because that features a lot of stuff that was on previous release where he's walking around Oldbourne and chatting to Nick Briggs, and that's got a lot of good behind the scenes stuff. So these are good, mate. Yeah, to be honest, I've got nearly all of them, and they're all kind of got their own merit. They're all got some good stuff on, even in bits that aren't so good. There's some good stuff, so you won't go wrong with any of them, I don't think. It's not been one that I've sort of switched off or got bored with.
Oh, cool.
The John Pertwee one's funny as well because, you know, I just think he's quite entertaining in interviews. He's got so many stories, and his one's quite good as well. It's got an interview of him on it, so
nice.
grab him. $9.99, can't go wrong.
This one's not out until November, but you can pre-order it now if you like.
Sill's had a bit of a comeback, isn't he? Because he's got a new drama coming out. I think that's through Real Time. So they've done a new story featuring Sill, like a proper, you know, fully budgeted story, which is looking quite good. So he seems to be making a bit of a comeback to Sill.
Yeah. Interesting one. Out of all the monsters, old Sill.
Yeah, he's got that voice, hasn't he?
I'm not sure what's happening with that that sort of fully produced unofficial story, because they did a similar thing with the Damons, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a little while back. This is like because they've been reissuing a lot of their sort of unofficial spin-offs, which were filmed, you know, back in I don't know when, 90s, early 2000s, maybe, I don't know. Whereas this is a brand new production that they're doing with Nabil. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Nabil? Anyway, yeah. So that's quite exciting to see what's going on. I think Sophie Aldred's involved in that as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with it. I need to keep an eye. I know they're doing a launch evening, actually. They're going to have like a screening of it near Marylebone. And I really need to find out when and where that is, because I'd quite like to go. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
There we go then. So, Real Time Pictures, The Doctor's More Monsters. We'll stick a link in the show notes for that. You can grab that from the Galaxy 4, the website. Do they do pre-orders, or do you have to just wait until it's released and in stock?
No, they do pre-orders. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, they're not too bad. I've ordered quite a bit of stuff from them over the years. They're all right. They're pretty good.
Cool. Right, that's news and merch. It's on to our review. What we got this week, bud?
So we're finally doing Sarah Jane. This is the second story in series 3 now we're on, which is cool. And it's called The Mad Woman in the Attic.
My name is Rani Chandra. This old attic is full of ghosts. Ghosts of the people I used to love. Playtime is beginning.
Rani's been telling this boy about everything you do.
She's with her, the demon.
I can see your past. Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde.
I wish they'd just leave me alone. Do you want to see your future?
I think she's seen.
How's my little darling?
He is returning. He is coming back.
We need the darkness. It is our future.
She must stop playing. She will die.
Rani!
The
Mad Woman in the Attic. Very cool title.
And
this was first broadcast back in October 2009. on the 22nd and 23rd. It's a two-parter, as all the Sarah Jane stories are. It was written by Joseph Lidster, directed by Alice Troughton, and it stars the usual Attic crew, this time with, Adam will love this, some K9 action.
Yes, he's back.
Albeit for a few mins. But he is back, and then a relatively small supporting cast with this one. The story kind of... it's sort of a bit of back and forth in like a potential timeline for Rani. I always thought that or before I watched these anyway, that it was focused on Sarah Jane, but the mad woman in the attic is actually Rani, and like an alternative potential future timeline. So it kicks off in the year 2059, and Rani is an old woman. She's living at Bannerman Road, and she's up in the attic, and what at first glance seems like a young lad who lives across the street has seemingly broken into her house, which is a bit dodgy, and has gone up to the attic to find out if the rumours are true, because it sounds to me like in this particular timeline that Rani's like this secluded, strange old woman that a lot of rumours have spread around the street, certainly anyway, that is there an old woman that actually lives there? Is she real? Because we've only seen little glimpses of her or something like that. And it turns out that this is not the actual timeline that ends up for Rani. It turns out that as we progress through the story, she gets called down to somewhere. Forgot what the name of the area it is that she gets called to, but an old friend of hers before she moved away says there's some weird goings on. She goes down to investigate on her own, because earlier on they're all chatting with Maria online, and she gets a little bit jealous, I think.
Yeah, a little jealous. Yeah,
they're all having a nice laugh and a crack, and so she goes off to play journalist by herself. She gets caught up in this situation where there's this alien, which a lot of people are calling a demon, has taken control of people. It's actually an alien who's like childlike, and just wants to have a bit of a social interaction and play with people, but she can't control her powers. And the other kind of twist to the story is that the ship that the alien arrived in is like her carer, if you like, but it's been offline, but now it's online, and she's ready to go back into space. And earlier on in the story, when Rani was a bit miffed at Sarah and Luke and Clyde, she kind of, when you're in a bad mood, you say stuff you don't really mean, and she's like, oh, I wish they would just leave me alone. And then later on, the ship, the AI of the ship, which is apparently very powerful, takes this as literal, and because Rani helped out the alien, the ship grants her a wish, makes Sarah Jane, Luke and Clyde disappear, and that's how she ends up by herself as the crazy old woman in Bannerman Road. But then it all comes good in the end, where the young lad that breaks into the house is actually the son of the alien, who's come back to see her to say, look, I know that I've just wasted my time for the last hour with you telling me this story that I already know, but I've let you waffle on about it. I'm now going to snap my fingers and actually say, look, because you helped us, we're going to reverse the wish and everything's going to be cool. And it's a beautiful ending, actually. We'll come on to that later. So it's a kind of, it's a strange episode or story, this one, where strange as in it's not the typical formula for Sarah Jane, where it's normally a case of an alien is on Earth or is coming to Earth to wreak havoc, and it's down to Sarah Jane and those guys to fix what's going on and defeat the aliens and protect the Earth and so on. Whereas this one, it's not really a case of it's not really that the alien in this, what's her name? Is Eve, isn't it?
Eve, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a case that Eve is evil and wants to destroy the Earth. She's just been a little bit, there's no upbringing for her. So she's still very childlike and young in terms of her species age cycle, I suppose. And there's no ill feeling. And the ship as well, the AI, there's no ill feeling there or anything. So it's more about a bit of a character build for Rani and a little bit of a, sort of a character piece. There's none of this, aliens are bad and they're going to destroy the Earth, so we need to protect it. So, yeah, so a bit of a a slight detour in terms of the formula that you'd expect, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But overall, buddy, what did you think to this one?
Yeah, it is a bit different, isn't it? I think I quite like that. I was thinking, when it finished, I was like, I really enjoyed that story. I thought it was a good story, but it did feel different, and it perhaps didn't have quite all the ingredients there to make it, like, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite stories from the Sarah Jane Adventures so far. There was, I don't know, the ingredients were all there, but maybe there was just something missing. I wouldn't sort of put up with some of the ones that I think are the best. But I did really enjoy it, though. I thought it was a good story, and I was definitely engaged all the way through it, wondering what was going on. And I do like it when every now and again we get well, I wouldn't say monster, because Eve's not monster, but I like it when it turns out to be, it's not an alien invasion. It's just that, this is happening because sort of thing, rather than, they're out to kill every human. It's because she's lonely and the ship needs a black hole. I must admit, as much as I was pleased to see K9 coming back, when it did get to that point in the story, I did wonder if it just made me think, okay, so was the whole story just vehicled around bringing K9 back then? Was that the whole point of it? Because I think that's actually, maybe that's what's slightly missing from it, is I sort of got to the end and wondered what the point of the story was. I think it's kind of just to get K9 out of the black hole, because that's sort of the resolution. But I don't want to take any merit away from it, because, as I said, I did overall think it was really good. I thought on the whole, like, the cast were quite good. There was some better than others. But it, just like the production, and I think the general standard of acting from everyone in it was good. I did enjoy it. I definitely did enjoy it. Yeah. What did you think to it?
I thought this was a solid story.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't have all the ingredients that you would expect from a typical SJA story. But... and I think sometimes that gets misconstrued with being boring or laggy, I suppose, in some areas. But I think sometimes it's good to have a bit of a change of direction, because, well, again, given the target audience that we've spoken about many times, which is slightly younger, then absolutely you do need to stick to a formula, because if you think about a lot of children's TV shows, whether it's cartoons or live action or so on, it is a kind of rinse and repeat thing, because children like that. It becomes like normality for them. It becomes like a safe place for them, because they know that, Sarah Jane's on, in their kind of non-adult mind. It's like, I know exactly what I'm about to watch, so I feel comfortable and safe, and that kind of mindset, I suppose. So when it changes up, I mean, it's not, you've still got the whole alien thing there and all that stuff. It's just, you don't have I suppose you don't have kids frowning at the TV because there's an alien threat and they're scary and all that stuff. So because of that, I think sometimes it gets a bit like, I think people just, their go-to thing is, it's boring because there's no to-ing and throwing, there's no capture and evade, there's no fight scenes, there's nothing like that. But I think that does a disservice to the writing, really, because I think that Joseph Lister he delivered a really, like, an enjoyable script, but not one that you would think, not one that sort of sticks in your mind for a long time afterwards. As you're watching it, and when you've just finished watching it, you thought, that was a good story. It was a good, solid character story between predominantly Rani and
Eve.
And Eve, yeah. But like in a month, 6 weeks' time, if I'm talking to somebody about Sarah Jane and, what's your favourite Sarah Jane? I wouldn't immediately think, the Mad Woman in the Attic. It doesn't stand out as like some of the higher. I can already see that we're not going to rate this as high as some of the other SJA stories, but it's not going to be rated low either. I just think it's a really good, nice, enjoyable watch. And I didn't reach for my phone, to be honest with you. I thought I would, because I remember the first time I watched this, I thought, because I watched this a couple of weeks ago because we were due to record a couple of weeks ago, and when I watched it there, I did reach for my phone a couple of times, but when I rewatched it last night, so it was fresh in my mind for today, I didn't have that same feeling for some reason. I actually enjoyed it more on a second watch through, albeit quite close together. But yeah, I just think it's a decent story that provides a little bit of insight and a slight change of direction that's not sort of unwelcome, put it that way.
Yeah, I think weirdly it's because it's slightly different. I think that's weirdly I like it more for that. It's kind of those ones that it's just like a jigsaw, it's just slightly out of sync with the rest of the puzzle. I quite like it. It just takes a bit of a slightly different direction, and I think the way I would look at it is it's a story that if you were looking at your Sarah Jane box set and you were thinking, right, which episode do I feel like watching tonight? It's probably not what a go-to story, but what it is it's one of those stories that if you're in a certain mood, you're sort of thinking I'm thinking a bit like Love and Monsters. I'm not totally different stories, but I'm thinking it's one of those stories that just every now and again, because it's a bit different, you feel like watching it. But it's not your sort of go-to, oh yeah, that's a great one, let's bung that on. It's not one of those, but I think it's one, if I was looking through and thought, no, I fancy something a bit different actually, I'd probably rewatch it. It's definitely got rewatch value. Like you said, so you enjoyed it more the second time. And I was quite engaged in it, to be fair. I've only watched it once, so I watched it last night. It's the first time I've ever seen it. No, I didn't find it boring at all. I was just quite into the story, wondering what was going on with Eve, why she was, what were these crazy stoned like people doing on the rides? What's going on with that caretaker guy? There was enough going on to keep me gripped. And it was nice for Rani to get a bit of a lead story because was she introduced in series 2 or 3? Was
2.
This?
Yeah.
2. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was going to say, to me, she still feels fairly new. Mm-hmm. I still don't feel like we've got to sort of know her parents a bit. So, yeah, I thought it was good for her to get a bit more of a lead in this one because I think the other guys have all had their moments. So, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, I think that's why this story works pretty well because, as you said, we've obviously Sarah Jane, we all know, is the star, and we've seen and read plenty about Sarah Jane. But then Clyde gets a lot of screen time quite often.
Yeah.
Because he's the cheeky chappy one-liner, and he's so he gets a decent amount of screen time, and then I think it's then just divided down between Luke and Rani after that. And so yeah, it's nice that she gets some focus and she gets some, because I feel like in series 1, Maria was the focus.
There's a lot between her and Sarah Jane, isn't there?
Yeah,
that relationship. Yeah.
So even though Luke and Clyde are there, I feel like Maria gets the majority of the screen time and so on. I think in series 2 that's transferred to Clyde because some of the screen time that we've seen with Luke thus far, he has been a bit of a wet blanket. So I think it's good for Rani to get a bit of focus. And so, what did you think about the to-in and throw-in between the timelines and the production there? Because I really liked because I'll be honest with you, when I first watched this in the opening minutes, where the young lad, what's his name?
Adam.
Terrible. Adam. When Adam breaks in, and they've really done it in a really cool way. It's like this old Hammer horror-esque thing where it's like the big, creepy, haunted attic, and you've got the lightning storm outside, and it lights up the side of her face. I thought initially that it was going to go a bit kind of horror, like paranormal, horror movie-esque. I thought that because there's a bit where Rani, they do play up on that opening bit where she's like, come closer, like the old witch in the forest kind of vibe. Yeah. And I thought, is she going to like morph into like a big possessed alien thing and eat this kid? But so I really like the way that they went sort of to and fro between the old Rani telling the story to Adam up in the attic, but they still kept that horror. It was a really good, I'm gushing a little bit here, but that's one of the amazing things about Sarah Jane, is that even though the budget isn't as high as the Doctor Who show that was on the main show, the storytelling was bang on, because the story starts being quite gothic and Hammer-esque in that respect, but then as the story progresses through, it gets lighter and lighter, and that in terms of Rani's personality, like the old Rani, her personality as she's talking to Adam. And then as we go through the story and Rani realises that actually, it's not all about Maria. They do like me and I am valued and all that stuff, the good message that you want to give to kids. But the old Rani starts to come round as well. So as she's telling the story to Adam, the storm stops outside. There's none of that big lightning flashing up her face and stuff. Her demeanour changes. And as we get towards the end, it's she's actually really lovely as she's told the story and she's got it out of her system, I suppose. So it's really good, like the way that it's been directed and how that storyline moves, it just subtly changes from the scary vibe at the beginning through to the end. So did you like the to-in and throw-in between the timelines? I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, I did. And I agree. I think the production's really nice and great direction from Alice Troughton as well. Because there were scenes like, when you've got the drawing of Sarah Jane and it flicks to her holding. So you got the drawing back in the sort of early days. And then it cuts to sort of like the present day old Rani and she's still holding it. And there was some lovely moments like that where it just cuts from one shot to the other really well. And all the mirrored effect, I think, was it the cliffhanger to the episode where there's like this fragmented shot of her looking in the mirror of all this lightning. I was thinking that the direction and production was great, actually. Really, really works well, especially for this sort of type of story. I liked all that because it can be really jarring. And also, it's been done a million times, hasn't it? This sort of flashback telling of story. It's been done so much. But I think it flowed really well. I didn't sort of sit there thinking, oh, for goodness sake, we're back at the old woman now, are we? And, I know she was telling the story. The only thing I do have to agree on is, and this is more of a story point really, is when Adam does reveal himself to be the son, I did think the same as you. I thought, well, why have you sat there and listened to it all then? I did think that, but yeah, no, I thought the to and fro was good. And I'm just wondering if, like me, if you got chills at the moment when we see the TARDIS. And I had to freeze frame to see, because you see the TARDIS, there's like, she shows Sarah Jane into the future. And so the TARDIS is coming and you just see the door open. We all know it's Tennant, but you don't, I think you might see a shoe. It's so well cut. But I did properly get chills at that moment. I really did. I thought, wow, this is really like kicking in. I can imagine at the time, 2009 when this was going out, I bet people were going crazy, weren't they?
I imagine
that. It was like, oh my God, the Doctor's must be in a future story, because they wouldn't have known then. But it's just showing us that, the Doctor's coming in a minute, or he's going to be in a future story. So keep watching. And I thought it was done incredibly well. Really, really well. But yeah, did you get a little... I mean, we all know he's coming. I haven't seen that episode either, so it's even more exciting. I know about it, but just seeing the TARDIS appear in the attic, I thought was a real moment. I thought, oh, wow. I love the way they've done that, a little glimpse into the future, not just for Sarah Jane, but for the viewer. What a lovely idea.
Yeah, and Liz Sladen's reaction is awesome as well.
Yeah.
She's like knocked for six. She almost falls over backwards when she sees that premonition. And it was awesome when you saw the TARDIS.
Such a good moment.
Yeah, because Sarah, I'm not going to, we speak about this every time. So I'm not going to go into it again, but Liz Sladen's acting is so on point sometimes and consistent with, it's like the same Sarah Jane that you saw when she very first entered Classic Who. Fast forward to now, she's still playing exactly, she's so in tune with the character. Because when we remember School Reunion, when she sees the TARDIS, where she breaks into the school at night.
I love that moment,
There's that scene where she first sees the TARDIS and that music kicks in and her facial expression is pretty much the same as what we see in this one. So she's
almost
so
fear,
consistent.
isn't it? It's like fear and delight and it's everything.
It's amazing. So it was really cool to see the TARDIS. And then later on you saw, in the second bit, you saw him, Tennant, come out the door.
You see the face,
Because I believe that he's in the next story, isn't he? The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith.
I think it must be, because there's an amazing trailer at the end of this, which really made me want to just carry on watching.
Yes,
I didn't. I want to save it. I'm so excited for the rest of this series, this journey, this Sarah Jane. It's always so tempting to just think, I might just watch that. But I love going into these fresh. I really do. And we're doing it together as well. I mean, we haven't seen anything, I don't think, past this. I might have seen some of the last series, actually. I might have seen one or two of those, but I haven't seen any of series 3. or 4. I think there's 5 series, isn't there?
Yes.
Or is there 4? Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to come, which I'm really excited about. Talking to the music just for a second though, Bud, especially that TARDIS scene and some of the stuff that happened later on, it sounded to me, I don't know if it is Murray Gold, I don't think it is, but it sounded so Ninth Doctor era.
It did, yeah.
There were bits I was thinking the music's beautiful, and I think it was when the TARDIS clip was happening and all that not flashback because it's forward flash, isn't it? But all the future stuff, I was thinking, God, the music sounds like it reminded me of the Ninth Doctor era. That sort of piano-y, jangly, really beautiful stuff. I don't think it is Murray Gold, but it definitely had his sort of, sound and style. It was really good, though. Really good music in this.
It was lovely, actually. Yeah, music was by Sam Watts.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, who's done a big bulk of the Sarah Jane stuff. But in this particular story, you can absolutely tell that it was influenced from the Murray Gold stuff that was going on in the main show at the time.
Because I'm sure I could have swore I heard that sort of that.
It was almost that, yeah, almost.
The sort of choral, I was thinking, this is beautiful. Yeah.
And the music actually ramps up a lot as we get into the final 10 minutes of the story. It's like I said earlier, it's a beautiful ending, this story.
It is actually, yeah.
And the music, it just suits it perfectly. It's got that kind of emotional wallop that you need just to sort of bring the story to a close and put a big old smile on your face at the end. So it's it's a great. The music's really subtle though. That's the good thing about it. It's not like Murray has a tendency to be a bit bombastic at times and in your face. So that's what's great about this. They can take a little bit of liberty with it. They can say. Maybe the producer or the director maybe said, like, look, for this episode, we want it to have a kind of Ninth Doctor-y, Murray Goldish kind of vibe, but we don't want it to be like big themes like Murray would come up with. So Sam Watts could obviously say, okay, I can weave a little bit of that into it, but it just suits the story perfectly. Yeah,
that's why I said it reminds me of series. Did I say series 9? I mean Ninth Doctor. Sorry, if I said series 9, I meant Ninth Doctor. Because I think Murray's score for the first series, maybe even series 2 to a point, definitely is different. It's much more subtle. I think because he was doing a lot of it, his orchestra seemed to get bigger and bigger as the series went on. He seemed to get much more, like you say, more bombastic in his style. So I think because if you listen to the series 1 and 2 soundtrack, I think it's beautiful stuff. It's much more subtle, and it totally reminded me of that sort of style. And like you said, not so in your face, not sort of drowning out the dialogue. It was just there, adding to the actual story. But you saying about the to in and fro in, I absolutely loved how the story came full circle and ended on that photograph. Like I said, what a beautiful ending that is, of all of them, sat with K9 having the photo, and it cuts to the photo at the end. Really, really nice little ending that was. Yeah. Good emotional punch, without being too sentimental. It absolutely sort of hit the right mark. It's a brilliant ending.
And I wonder if the guys that worked on the show. So I wonder if Tommy Knight and Daniel Anthony, those guys, I wonder if they've got that photo anywhere, because it's a lovely photo of the four of them.
It's brilliant, isn't it? And it's weird because I haven't seen it online. If you Google Sarah Jane, I've never seen that photo, and it would just be it'd be lovely to think that was on like the production wall somewhere, because it is the absolute classic. Picture of them with K9. I mean, imagine having that signed on your wall or something. It'd be just brilliant, wouldn't it?
Be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the twist coming? So it was kind of, it was a twist in a way, wasn't it? Because we all wanted to know why or how, Rani ended up living at Bannerman Road on her own and having this kind of secluded hermit mindset kind of thing. But we find out that when we rewind time to the current day, it's because the ship's AI had granted her that wish. She kind of took what she said literally and made the others disappear. And then you think that's it. You think, okay, that's how Rani ends up. That's her future. And then we find out that Adam is actually the son of Eve. I think actually Eve and Is it
Not
Sam?
not the caretaker.
No, not the caretaker. The young lad
Dirty
the young lad that Rani is friends with. That he's the young lad.
Of course,
that,
I
is it
forgot
Sam?
about him. Oh yeah, phew.
Yeah, I think those two. I think Adam actually says like he says that Sam's his dad or something like that.
That's right. Yes.
So yeah, and then it's that twist at the end that we find out that Adam's actually their son and he's come to kind of fix things for them. So I didn't see that coming. I just assumed that he was like history repeating itself in the similar way that Maria was very inquisitive about Bannerman Road. I thought it was just the young lad across the street who was inquisitive about what was happening there as well, like the next generation of whatever. So it was a cool twist. I didn't see it the first time I watched it. Did you see that coming?
Not at all. No, didn't see that coming at all. I think that's why I was saying so engaged in it. I kept thinking all the way through, like you said, well, what's Rani doing in the attic? Like where, what's going on here? It kept me guessing pretty much up to the end, which again is a credit to Joe Lister for the writing. I didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah.
It seems quite simple when you plot it out like that, and you when you get to the end, you think, oh, okay, that it does all tie up very, very nicely. So yeah, no, I didn't see it coming. Yeah, it's a good twist, I thought.
Yeah, and the other kind of twist, I suppose, is when I first watched through this, I assumed that the caretaker, the old guy, what's his name, Harry, I think.
Harry, yeah,
the caretaker, because you see the homeless people who have been sort of zombified by Eve, you kind of think that she's up to no good. This is like an evil alien. So the other kind of twist is that when the ship's AI says, actually, she's not bad or anything, she's just a child and she's learning her powers and she can't control them and she just wants to play and blah, blah, blah. That's the other thing, because you think, like, is the caretaker, is he being forced against his will? Because he seems like a lovely old guy.
Yeah.
And he has an immediate rapport with Rani. He sort of takes pity on her a little bit. But you do think, like, is he being forced to go off and sort of capture homeless people and bring them back for like the wrongdoings of this alien sort of thing? So that's another kind of little twist, I suppose, as well, that she's not really doing it to cause harm. It's just so yeah, it was a cool story. Did you like that as well? I kind of like that.
Kept you guessing. Yeah, because you do all the things that you think are obvious, like think, well, clearly that computer's controlling blah blah blah. It all turns out to be it's not that. And again, it's good. It's just not as obvious as you'd think, because the computer does look evil. The computer in the mirror, they've clearly said, put your evil face on. Even when it's making Sarah Jane vanish, you're thinking, is the computer doing it because it thinks it's doing a good thing? Because it looks kind of evil. So I like that. So you're not quite sure. I'll tell you what has just amazed me. I'm surprised I didn't realise this till now, is that Harry the cleaner, the caretaker, is played by Brian Miller. Now, I thought I recognised him, but I've only just realised that that's Brian Miller, as in Liz Sladen's husband.
Yeah.
I didn't realise. I've literally just seen it on, because I just saw the name. I didn't realise that was him. I knew I recognised him, because he was also the tramp, wasn't he, in Capaldi's first episode, Deep Breath.
That's right.
He's the tramp that he meets, and when he's going for all the regeneration stuff. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't realise that was him till now. I knew I recognised him, but there you go.
Well, he looks very different
good.
in Deep Breath, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah, he does, yeah.
He had a big beard in that, I think, and they made him to look, as his character suggests, homeless. And
yeah, well, he's got a sort of blonde hair. He's got blondish hair in this. I just, didn't twig it was him till now. But that's nice, though. That's nice that he was involved in this as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Let's go through a few characters then. So what did you think the ship then? The ship's character was had a really good voice for it, played by Kate Fleetwood. She had a really good authoritative voice, but not sort of patronising and that some typical sci-fi shows where they put a voice to a computer like AI sort of thing. It can be a little bit like weird sometimes, but it was actually quite a human voice in a very similar way to Mr. Smith, I think. That kind of human conversational dialogue, which is good. So yeah, I thought she was the ship voice and stuff. Although, like you said, does look a little bit creepy in the mirror. Was actually pretty. I think it was really well done.
Yeah, I was going to say I like that because of the way the voice and the tone and the look, you're just never sure if that. You just keep waiting for the computer to turn out to be evil, and even at the end, I don't think it was, but it's just enough there to keep you guessing. So yeah, I thought Kate Fleetwood was good as the ship.
Yes, yeah.
Even though we just see her face, but
yeah, and she went on to play a very small part in The Force Awakens, Star Wars.
Did she?
Yeah. Officer Unamo, apparently.
Oh,
First Order officer, yeah. And then we had Eve, then the red alien,
the tomato
girl, the tomato,
face.
yeah.
I thought she was really good, actually.
Yes,
I thought I've never seen her in anything before or after this, but I thought she gave a great performance under all of that stuff, because it was really heartfelt. You know, when she was acting so well with the Rani, when her and Rani together, just the performance, they really bounced off each other really well. Yeah. Like when she was saying, "I'm going to show you the future," and Rani's like, "No," and all this. Great performance from Eleanor Tomlinson, isn't it? Who played Eve?
Yeah.
I really did. I thought she was just got the level right. She wasn't over the top. She wasn't cringy. Just a good, solid performance. She just fitted this role perfectly.
Yeah, she was very good actually, and I really like the bond that she had with Rani. That was like just two actors who really got that part of the script. I think it was meant to be like almost like when you start a new school, and you meet that one person in the big crowd who you just instantly bond with, and you make friends with instantly. It's that kind of thing that I think they were trying to get across, because they do have this thing where even though she's an alien, if she was human, you would imagine that she's the same age as Rani, and they've got some stuff in common. And
that's right. It did seem, that's right. It felt like they connected as, the same sort of age, and it did. There was a good connection there. Yeah.
I haven't seen her in anything since, but I understand that she has a decent part in Poldark, if that's your cup of tea. I've not seen it, but no, there we go.
So I know a lot of people love it. Not my cup of tea. Well, I'm good. I'm glad she's gone on to do other stuff, because you can always tell when an actor's natural, if you know what I mean. That's what I say when she gives a good, solid performance. Sometimes people, you think, they're all right. They're doing a decent job, whatever. But some people just seem to flow naturally with their performance. And even though she was under all that red stuff, she gave a great performance. So, yeah.
Yes. And what about the lad that played Sam, Toby Parks?
Yeah, you see, this is what I mean. He was fine. This is kind of what I'm getting at. He was fine, but he wasn't natural, like in his performance, like she was. Do you know what I mean? He's at a certain level of acting, which is absolutely a good enough standard. But yeah, he wasn't great, but he was fine. You know what I mean? He was good.
Yeah.
You can imagine. I mean, he's quite young as well, isn't he? He's probably gone on to sort of home in on his craft a bit, I should imagine.
Not really. No, I think he stopped acting a few years ago. Yeah.
No, I thought he looked familiar. I was thinking I'd seen him in other stuff, but
he was in Hollyoaks for a little while, and then he was in
Hollyoaks,
and then he was in the TV series Skins. Just for an episode.
That wasn't a bad series.
Yeah, but that was back in 2013, and I can't find anything else that he's done since then. So, but not a bad performance. Just nothing sort of stand out that's going to make you think, oh, remember Sam from the Sarah Jane Adventures?
Exactly, yeah.
Not too bad nonetheless. Okay, what about we've spoken about Harry?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice performance, wasn't it? It was a little bit hammy, but it was a nice performance from Brian Miller, I thought.
A little bit, yeah. A wee bit hammy, but not too bad.
Yeah.
And then what about old Rani then?
Brilliant. Absolutely. I thought she was great. I really did. And again, I'm sure I've seen her in other things. So how do you say this actress's name? How do you say her name?
I think it's Sawad Faris.
Right.
I think.
Because I've not heard of her, but she did look familiar. But no, I thought it was a really lovely performance, because if you're playing a mad old woman in an attic, there is this temptation, I should imagine, to go a bit crackers and cackle and go a bit OTT with it. I thought she gave a great performance, just toned it down very nicely. Still kind of scary, still kind of a bit creepy, but she didn't. Yeah, I think she just got it just right. For me, she was a standout performance in this. I just thought she was really good, especially when she switches. We get the end scene where we see her as the old Rani, but she's not the mad Rani. Do you know what I mean? She's the Rani who's got a family and kids and all that stuff. Yeah, again, I just thought a very natural performance for her in both sort of versions of the Rani she played. So really, really good stuff.
Yeah, very cool. And I think this story lends a little bit of weight to the theory that knocks around that Rani and Clyde end up together.
Yeah, definitely does.
I believe, because she has mixed race children.
What do you think about the idea of that the Rani ends up living in Sarah Jane's house though in the future?
Love that. I love that.
I mean that's that's kind of cemented in. It's this canon, isn't it? From this story onwards, we know that the Rani will end up living there, or at least in this universe sort of thing. So I thought that was a lovely idea. Yeah. I mean, it's not something I would have thought of either. It's it's a very simple idea, but I really like it. I like the thought that she ends up there, because you sort of wonder what happens when Sarah Jane moves on, and what happens to all that stuff in the attic. So Mr. Smith stops working, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah.
Maybe K9 switches him off, because I did detect a bit of jealousy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
When he's like, "Oh, you're back, are you?"
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Mr. Smith was a little bit like, "Oh yeah, oh you're back." Oh, right.
He's like, "Oh great."
Oh goody.
Yeah, something like that. It's really cool actually, because K9's oblivious to it. Obviously, he's just the
obviously. I am looking forward to seeing where we go with this new, with him back in it. I think he will definitely add something to the stories coming up, won't he?
Well, it's taken him a while to get him in there, hasn't it? Let's be honest. So let's hope he does something decent. But you never know. But it was really funny scene between the two of them, because K9's just, I don't know, it seems to me like K9's intentionally written to be oblivious to any kind of like sarcasm from the Doctor or whoever he's with at the time, because I think Tom Baker gave him a bit of stick at times.
Loads, yeah.
You know what I mean? But he never reacted to it. He never, so it's funny. And then Mr. Smith's obviously a bit sarky, and
I assume we'll get a bit more of that as the series goes on. I think that's going to be, I assume it's going to be a running thing. I don't know. Little jibes between each other.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about Mr. Smith. He didn't really do anything. He's only in it for a couple of scenes.
No, he didn't, did he? No. Big old fanfare as usual.
Not too bad. What did you think we'll talk about Clyde and Luke together, because they weren't in it as much as Rani and Sarah Jane. But what do you think to Rani in this one then? Because the focus was on her. Do you reckon she took this script and did well with this one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think she did. Yeah, I think... I think she did, because there's that thing, when she's getting cross saying, "Oh, I wish they weren't around," and being a bit of a, throwing her toys out the pram a little bit because she's not been noticed as much. And no, I thought she handled the script really well, and I think it looks like she enjoyed the fact that she becomes center of attention in this one. I think probably when she got the script, she was like, "Oh yeah, this is good stuff," and yeah, I think she gives a nice little performance in there actually.
I think so as well. I think I'm going to murder her name like we do with everybody. I think Anjali Mahindra. I think I'm saying that correct.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think she. I think there was a good combination of providing what the story needed. So I think she needed to be a little bit like, I'm going to have the hump now. I'm just going to go off and do it myself. Like, she's not, like, the maturity level isn't quite there yet, because they're still quite a young cast. So she needs to portray that humpy, I've got the hump, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. But then she also, the way that she interacts with Eve and her conversations there, and also the kind of full circle that happens. I think you mentioned later that it all sort of comes full circle for her later, and there's that maturity comes back a little bit there. And so, I think she gave a good rounded performance, actually. I think she wasn't, I wouldn't say she was OTT, but at the same time, I wouldn't say she was understated either. I think she did a good, decent job of it.
It's a good story for the Rani. Not the Rani, sorry. I wish they'd called her something else. I always get mixed up. It's a good story for Rani.
For Rani.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a nice story for her, actually. If I'd have got this script, I would have been loving it, I think. Of, the whole idea behind it. It's a good concept.
Yeah, this would have been a much different story if the Rani was in it.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
And then Luke and Clyde, they're pretty good. I think they're just same old Luke and Clyde in this one, really.
I mean, Clyde gets a couple of cheeky lines, as always. He doesn't get a lot to do, does he? I still think that Tommy Knight's stepped up a little bit. I know he doesn't get much to do in this either, but I feel his performance is getting stronger. He was a bit wet behind the ears for quite a while. It took him a while. And it's not necessarily his fault, because I feel we've got a really interesting character of Luke in terms of, what he is. And it's not explored that much. We're on series 3 now, and I don't know that I don't think the writers know what to do with him sometimes. But I think earlier on in the series, he sort of had to play this, I'm genetically made or whatever. I've probably got my words on there. You know what I mean? So he sort of played it a bit dumb, like, oh, what's a joke? What does that mean? What's it? So they've slowly toned that down, and we definitely needed it earlier on, I guess. But I'm glad that he's sort of slowly becoming a bit more worldly. His character's definitely progressing the right way, and I think Tommy Knight's performance is getting better. But I think they need to give him a story like this, and maybe they do, but they need to give him a story, I think, where he sort of leads it a bit to show his potential a bit more, because I don't know. I just don't think they've tapped into his character much. There was that one where those people took him away claiming to be his real parents and stuff. That was quite interesting. But Tommy Knight as Luke, I think he's got a bit more gusto to his performance than before. So I think he's definitely heading in the right direction.
Yes, I think he's. I think Tommy Knight's definitely getting better.
Yeah, he is.
As we go through each series, he's finding his feet a bit more.
Yeah.
And the same with Daniel Anthony as well. I think I feel like he's already found his feet. I think he's a bit ahead in terms of being comfortable within his character. So that's what I mean. Like, it's like a bit of same old for him, because the focus is not on him, but what you just expect the funny one-liners and stuff.
He definitely found his feet a lot earlier on.
Yeah.
And he's a likable, cheeky chappy. The only thing I do feel a little sorry for Daniel Anthony is that I think, again, perhaps the writers sometimes don't know what to do. They're like, oh, right, Clyde, well, let's give him a silly line there and a silly line here. And, he's becoming a bit one tone in the way they're writing him, I think, so far. Yeah. But he's always good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most we saw in terms of stretching his character is the story where his dad turns up out of nowhere.
Yes, that's a good one. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah.
So that provided a bit more, not just the one-liners. We saw a bit of an emotional side to him. But like you said, everything else, it's like, well, we need the funny man to sort of throw in the one-liners and stuff. It has to be Clyde. So let's just carry that on. But I see what you mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout about the one with his dad, though. That's a good one for him. Yeah.
And then Liz Sladen, the glue that holds it all together. She's just
absolutely
awesome, as always.
Yeah, another lovely performance. Yeah, she's so lovable. Yeah.
And it's funny, the some of the interactions she has with Clyde as well. There's a bit where they're running across, they're down by they've arrived at the seaside town, wherever that is. And her and Clyde are running off back to the pleasure beach bit to try and rescue Rani. And they have like a little joke with each other. He calls her old and she's like, no, I was just slowing down just to make sure that you could keep up and stuff. And she's like, hold my hand, hold an old lady's hand and stuff. And he's like, nah, you're all right. And they run off. And little scenes like that she's very, very good at, as well as like the big, like, important scenes and emotional stuff. And
I was going to say, if ever there was any question, can a female doctor work? I think Liz Sladen just shows you it can 100%, because she, to me, feels like the female doctor. Mm-hmm. You always feel that when Sarah Jane turns up, she's just straight in there, straight into the action, and you just feel confident that she will resolve it. But she's also got that slightly vulnerable side to her as well. So, there's always that element of danger that, Sarah Jane might get, might not do it, but you kind of know that she will. I just think that she's so strong in her performance. I love it when she just turns up and zaps the gate and in she goes. There's no messing with her. You know what I mean? She's just brilliant.
He's awesome. Yeah, as always. Okie dokie then. Is there anything else on your notes, mate, before we get to a score?
Only that I noticed the Time War got a little mention, which I thought was cool. Yeah, just a little nod to the Time War there, which was at the time obviously was quite hot stuff. Now Big Finish have done so much. They've overdone it, but anyway, yeah, it's nice to see the Time War getting mentioned. The beach, I did think it looked a lot like the beach in Gavin and Stacey, the TV sitcom, and I saw one of our listeners confirm that on Twitter. I thought it was that beach. I don't know where it is in Wales, but I recognised that. I kept thinking, I'm sure that was the bit that where Nessa and that was sitting, and Nessa, not Nissa, in Gavin and Stacey. So yeah, that was cool to see, and great to see K9 finally coming out of the cupboard. I don't mean that in a euphemism way. I just mean it's great to see him finally getting released. I think there's been some contractual reason that he was shut in there, and they've resolved it now, so he can actually be at the series properly. Something like that. Yeah. It was Barry Island. Oh, that's where they filmed Downton the Bannerman.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, there was some legal copywritten thing around K9 at the time. Yeah. So yeah, they obviously put pen to paper and put the check in the post at that point.
Yeah. But it's good to see him back. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I don't want him to be in it too much. I don't want him to become a regular character, I don't think he will, but I want him. It's nice that he's going to be in it a bit more, and I think he'll add something extra to the rest of the series. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of our metal friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Not sure Mr. Smith is, but
yeah. Oh yeah. It's going to be funny seeing him a bit salty with him.
Yeah, a bit salty. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't got anything else to add really, other than I think sometimes people not confuse. That's the wrong thing to say. I think some people shy away from the story because they feel like it's boring or something because it hasn't got the usual formula. But I think if you dive into it a little bit, there's some lovely stuff in here and some bits that you wouldn't, because there's a couple of bits that I didn't necessarily pick up on the first watch, but on the second watch I certainly did, and it was a much better watch for that.
I must admit, I am actually, because I've only watched this once, I am actually looking forward to watching this again at some point. I genuinely am, because I think you're right. I think a second viewing, normally I do watch things twice as well. Actually, when we're going to review them, I do like to always give them a second watch.
Yeah.
But unfortunately with this one, I've only watched it once. But yeah, I reckon it is one of those stories that perhaps deserves a second watch.
Yes. And also I like how Joseph Lidster popped in there the little reference to the Zodin, which is...
I missed that.
Yeah, the terrible Zodin, which...
Where was that?
Any listeners that not aware that the Zodin is like this thing that's been referenced in Doctor Who way back to I think the Tom Baker or the Pertwee years.
I think, so I always think of the Five Doctors.
Oh, the Five Doctors, of course,
The second Doctor mentions it, yeah.
Yeah, it's an alien that has been referenced multiple times over the years, but has never appeared in any Doctor Who story or TV episode or anything. So a nice little throw in there. It's pretty cool.
I didn't notice it, actually. I'll look out for that on the second watch.
Yeah, Sarah Jane says it to somebody. She says I've something about the terrible Zodin and blah blah blah.
Ah, right, okay, yeah. Cool.
So yeah, I haven't got anything else really. Let's slap a score on this then. You can go first, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm going to score this a 7 out of 10. That might have gone up if I'd given it a second watch. I don't know. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was very well produced, a great concept, good story, nice performances from the cast. So it is an odd one, but I think sometimes it's good to have that. I'm slightly surprised they put it second in the series. It felt to me like it should have been a bit further in. It didn't feel like a second story. But yeah, I think that's just because they wanted to bring K9 back. It was so early on, but yeah, good stuff. I thought 7 out of 10 from me.
Yeah, cool. I'm with you on this, buddy. A 7 also.
A 7 as well.
Yeah,
that's good then.
Yeah, I think it's definitely better than a middle of the road average story. I think it's got some nice stuff in here, but it's not one of the immediate classics that you're be talking about for years and years and won't jump out at you. But it's a really good, solid story, I thought.
Yeah, I was going to say a solid 7, I would think.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rightio. What did our listeners think? Because we had a bit of a rush where we're going to record this week, where we not. I didn't have time to do a proper social media request for all this stuff. So we did have a few bits over on Twitter, nothing on Facebook, but we did have some audio clips in. Sammy Satine from Down Under sent in her clip weeks ago when we first announced it. So let's hear what Sammy has to say.
Hey Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, The Mad Woman in the Attic. They really should have thought of a shorter title. Anyway, Rani goes to investigate a fairground in her old town that's been taken hostage by a red alien called Eve. I like Eve, apart from the fact she possesses people. It's a good story. Slightly disappointed we don't see Geeta or Haresh in this. K9 is back! I wish it could come back to Doctor Who. Come on, Chivers, please. Eve's ship is an interesting shape. I give it 7 red aliens out of 10. Oh, and tell me you weren't tempted to watch next week's early. 'Cause I wouldn't blame you. See ya.
We were, Sammy.
A 7 from Sammy. She agrees with us.
Yes, and we were tempted. Definitely.
Very.
Happens every time. When you watch that next time trailer, it's like, shall we just leave this disc in and watch the next one, make a cup of tea? But yeah, thank you very much, Sammy. You sent that in a few weeks ago, so we've kept it. So all good. And then Alex Kingdom sent this in last night. What's Alex got to say?
Hello, Gary and Adam of the Big Blue Box podcast. How are you both doing? That's right, I did 2 shows in a row. I was going to say 2 weeks, but you guys took a break, so you guys were in my streak. But that kind of allowed me to do 2 in a row. Anyway, today's Sarah Jane Adventures. The Mad Woman in the Attic, I think is the correct title. I think it's nothing special. I think it's a solid episode of Sarah Jane. It's good fun, and I think it's not one that stands out to me as a Sarah Jane Adventures episode. You know, there's tons, Nightmare Man later on and all that. Those are the ones that really, make me go, I remember those. But this one, struggled to remember much about it, and I remember little things, which is more than some, but it just didn't really stand out to me. Also, just to give you a life update, Adam, because I know last time he said next time we hear from him, he'll be married with 2 kids. I'm not married, nor do I have 2 kids, so I'll keep you posted, but for now, I'm going to give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. It's solid, it's good, but it's not one that I'd jump out to if someone said, do you want to watch a Sarah Jane episode? I wouldn't go, I want to watch that one. Anyway, guys, have a good rest of the show, and I'll see you guys next week, or next show. Take care.
Cheers, Alex. Plenty of time for all that sort of thing.
Yes, plenty of time, buddy. Yeah, don't even think about it. But yeah, some good points there, mate. And a 6.5, did you say? 6.5.
6.5,
yeah.
he said, yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for sending in your audio clips. Much appreciated, as always. And over on Twitter, we had a few there. At Riftflix028 said it's a fun, unique story that gives Rani some needed depth, and it's one I constantly find myself rewatching, just like the rest of SJA. A definite 8.5. Jack at Hooveneer says, not a fan, unfortunately.
Oh.
Just find it a bit dull and boring, although a good concept, a 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Dexter didn't give a review, but did confirm that it was filmed in Barry Island in South Wales.
Yeah.
Yes. Harry Gilsnan says, this is one of the only SJA episodes that I don't get on with. It gives Rani good character development, but find it a bit dull and boring. However, love the prosthetic Eve has. And I'd give it 5.5 out of 10 ships. Etchy says, absolutely love going on this journey with you guys. Each episode feels more and more like 80s Who. Loved the story, and the old caretaker going off with them in the end was too cute. We need a spin-off of the spin-off. P.S. We miss you guys. Thank you very much, Etchy.
Thank you, mate.
And lastly, our writer Jordan Shortman says, it's a middle-of-the-road adventure for the SJA gang. It's a good story about the topic of loneliness, and it's nice to see Rani get the spotlight, but otherwise it doesn't really do anything for me. Eve is one of the more striking alien designs. Not the best, but certainly not the worst.
Fair enough, Jordan.
Yes. So I think some all right scores. There are a couple of unimpressed listeners with this one, but there we go. Still a decent story, I would say.
Yeah.
In terms of what we're going to be doing next, what have we got next on when we're both back on, whichever week that's going to be? What story are we doing next, buddy?
So next time we're back to Classic Who, and it'll be the 5th Doctor story, Arc of Infinity.
Arc of Infinity!
Omega.
When did we do 5th Doctor? Ages ago.
Turning to mush.
Yeah. The King's Demons back in March, sorry.
Blimey.
Yeah, so that'd be good. So, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, yeah, so that's, we should hopefully be back doing that one. I would think, all being well, beginning of September. So a couple of weeks.
Cool.
We should be back doing that one.
Yes, I will put some stuff out on the socials so that you know within due course when we're going to be doing that one. So it should be around that time, as Adam said. So get that DVD watched because we'll be asking for your thoughts and views, etc., as always. And I think we'll wrap there, buddy, for 239.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming back to the show after a few weeks and listening to 239. It's been awesome catching up with my co-host, Mr. Adam, about everything that he's been up to, Doctor Who, plus the very funny and anticlimactic rumour that went round with the so-called announcement. It's all good fun. And some couple of cool pieces of merch. Definitely going to pre-order the Target storybook. Looks really cool. Thank you so much for those guys that sent in your views and thoughts on the Mad Woman in the Attic. Pretty good story. If you've not dived into Sarah Jane yet, we'll say this every single time we have a Sarah Jane week. Go and get it. They are awesome stories. Really cool stuff. The next time we record, we'll be looking at the Arc of Infinity, the 5th Doctor story. So give that a watch. We'll be asking for your views on that. In the meantime, head over to our website. You can check out all of our core articles from our writers there, plus all of our previous episodes. bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. There's also buttons there to link off to all the social stuff. And there's buttons there to link off to the various podcast networks. So just follow those, or whatever podcast app you use to listen to podcasts. Just do a search for Big Blue Box Podcast. We're on most of those. Give us a subscription for those so you don't miss a show when it normally lands every Friday. Also, check out my co-host channel over on YouTube, The Geek's Handbag. In the same way that we've had a bit of a break, Adam's having a bit of a break as well. However, the channel is just chock-block full of really cool videos, loads of cool reviews and unboxings and convention roundups, locations, just a whole lot. Just go and get lost over on Adam's channel for a while. And Adam's also on the socials under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. So just do a search from there and give him a follow there.
Indeed.
Until next time, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...